think the hope I have for government one day, or big government, is it becomes more diverse.
Yeah.
It becomes more
A lot more
inclusive.
diverse.
I know
There's a bunch of white
Barack
men
Obama
there.
was a big deal. First black president.
We need more black people.
Or eventually, like if
Yeah, that
Kamala
too.
gets elected, the first female president.
Yeah,
Like
the
those are
first-
big deals for a country that
Yeah.
has been, most of our presidents have been
White old men.
white old men. Great white sharks,
Yeah.
Tupac said it best, man. We all came from a woman. We all came from a woman, and that's really fast.
So there's people that's like out here on drugs and stuff and they're valuable people that they're wasting away their time, so they could be using it to
Or poverty.
Yeah.
Poverty. Why do we still have poverty? Why do we still have drug addictions? What drugs being laced with fentanyl? Like that's scary.
Fentanyl is a
How do
very
you-
bad issue.
Like that's horrifying.
Here's the thing about that tax plan is that tax plan is going to cost us about $5.2 trillion.
Yeah, all right. So we're here today with another Real Talk episode.
I guess I am your co-host, Douglas Primo, and we have Sam here
I'm
today.
the third co-host. We're all the co-hosts of Real Talk.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about some important topics. We're
Yeah.
diving deep today, guys.
Yeah, we got some really good, important topics. We're talking political today, all right?
We are.
Okay.
So how do you feel about that, Doug? How do you feel about the current political climate that we have?
Kamala. Trump. Yeah.
Trumpers, bro.
I'm saying our choices are very slim, but anyway,
Yeah, they're very slim, and they're not that great. And I think a lot of people are tired of having two very, not great candidates and having to pick and choose, where they want to fight their battles and stuff like that. And Julius, I know you were talking about before the podcast,
The two-party system.
the two-party system.
that we have fallen into,
Yeah.
right? So a little bit of history on this, right? George Washington's warning to the U.S. government and all the individuals that he knew in it at the time was, don't make political parties, because once you start separating Americans from Americans, you get into a very bad area where there's not enough conjoining, enough
There's
not enough working together.
Not much overlap of people's political views, where instead of it's two parties working together to solve a problem, it's two parties working against the other. Yeah, exactly.
Maintain power.
Yeah.
Exactly, because I know before the podcast we started making a couple comments.
Yeah.
Politics is kind of easy to talk about at the same time, because it hits everybody is concerned about their values and making sure that their rights are maintained and freedoms are maintained.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they say with power, eventually you get so much power you don't recognize yourself. And I think that's happening with the governments is there are people like us, and they're in positions of power. So obviously they use their position sometimes to leverage they have insider trades to make trades on gain finances and stuff like that, and then to maintain power. You see how I'm seeing it on both sides. They might be doing something terrible, and then near to election time, they do everything they can.
Trying to cover all these bases.
And then the other parties trying to fight against them, doing the good because they want to get the votes. But they're trying to turn things around at the end, which I understand that they're kind of just leveraging those things, but it shouldn't be like that. That's what I'm
There's
saying.
no follow through.
Yeah, it should
there's
be
no
more
follow through.
collaborative between the two parties.
Yeah.
I think there used to be points in history where it was more collaborative and not this fight against each other.
And another thing that I've seen throughout, more recently now, is that more parties, or on either sides, the party will attack the other one more than stating what they want to do in office. And
That's Trump's MO.
Yeah, it's Trump's MO.
That's his entire MO.
It's both.
Yeah, it is both. I will
both.
say Kamala does also, fucking throw jabs at him too, which, she shouldn't be, because she's throwing herself down to his level. And that's what that's one of the things I don't like Trump about most, is that he, instead of talking about his policies, what he's going to do, he does talk about a lot of stuff he's going to do, but he never goes into detail about it, which is another one of my problems. But
Transparency. A
Yeah,
lot of people argue for transparency. in government.
Transparency.
Actually, both candidates for transfer, they both released the tax plans and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I've seen.
Well, they have to. To be a president, you are required, I'm pretty sure,
well,
to
that's
release.
good, but that says a lot about where they're putting their values.
Yeah.
Now, me and Doug, before when we came up with the idea to have this podcast, because we think it's important for college students to not be afraid to voice your opinion, but be able to do it in a safe way and actually explore for yourself. Don't depend on what we're saying or on any of what we're saying to make your own judgment. Go and do your own research. And so now people are educated,
Your own research is more important than everyone else is saying. Tune them out. Go do your own research. Whatever your findings are, just vote your way. Don't let us any of us sway you anyway.
Yeah, but I know right now with how fast media is moving, most people are getting the information from podcasts on the internet and stuff. So I even read I've been mainly because I know these people. And it's always going to be down to trust and faith, but I just know they have credibility based on their positions in business and finance and stuff like that. So they understand from those.
Well, most politicians aren't like your average Joe. These guys have a lot of money, a lot of campaign support, or
not all the time,
I don't a lot. I'm saying a lot, not all the time.
Because actually, Donald Trump, he come from a rich family, so he has that kind of background. And there's a bunch. I don't want to get into. I know a lot about Donald Trump's background, with his dad. There's some shady stuff going on.
No, Trump's what do you call it? He made his business, right?
Yeah.
There were times the Trump Taj Mahal was talked about as not a great venue. They're what is that? And now it's really good.
Yeah, and there was some
some
you look racial stuff back there with the apartments, which I'm aware of, and I know and that speaks to Trump's. That, but I don't know personally because with Trump's actions recently, I've seen it doesn't seem like he's that the media paints him as super racist, but based on his actions, I don't see that he's that racist.
Well,
because that's what I'm saying. It's important because with some people there's such a nuance to things, and just because somebody's dad was really racist doesn't mean that they had to turn out. They can choose to be different. I know it's hard to believe, but people can change. Everybody has to stay the same. But
the area that gets dicey with Trump, and you talked about racism, is actually the people who are voting for him.
Yeah.
The Trumpers.
Yeah.
Right.
The Trump cult.
So that was actually a bit of an unexpected thing, right? He went to rally support from these racist communities, "Make America Great Again." What does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean? Because if you look at the founding fathers, they stand for great values with freedom and stuff like that, and they fought for it. They fought for the freedom. They fought for the fact that we have free enterprise with people. Really, free enterprise gives anybody an ability, so somebody that comes from nothing can rise up to be a millionaire.
I feel like
stuff like that,
I feel like the founding fathers laid a good groundwork. I don't think their values were there. Obviously, their values don't align with us today because it was a completely different generation or completely different ideals back then.
Yeah. And there's a huge argument in government actually that's strictly sticking to the Constitution versus understanding that it's an older document.
Yeah.
The things they wrote about, right, it was a base plan, right? They wanted to cover as much as possible, but could they foresee all these brand new things we have in 2020 through COVID and 2024?
They've done a good job of really seeing where it's going and doing warning, just like you were saying about some of the stuff President Washington was warning about, how the parties are now.
Yeah.
And they can kind of visualize a lot of these technologies that's releasing there. It's not new, but although we can get deep, but the CIA has a lot more power because what happened? The CIA doesn't even share sometimes important information with the presidents, about new technologies that they have and releasing, and I'm sure you guys have heard of the UFOs, all these things that they used to release in sci-fi movies to create fear around and confusion around. They've been actually deal with some of this stuff. And how am I getting this stuff? From a former Pentagon agent, right? A former Pentagon agent. He went on a podcast. You see, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. That's where I get most of my news and media, and I get different perspectives. I don't just listen to what. And this is something to take note. People with a narrative, it's easy to get sucked into the algorithm. I think that's the problem with our generation. So it's easy to just listen to what people that are catering to your values, what you want,
easy
what you
to be
think you believe and stuff. And they might be catering, but you better watch out for their actions and actually hold them accountable to make sure they're doing that stuff. But yeah, what happens is people are just in the media in their one side, so they get content on themselves.
Sam.
Content on here. No, I'm trying to make a
No,
point.
I'm trying to follow you, but I'm just saying.
Oh, you do. Oh, you get.
Yes, you have good content. Deliver it well.
I see what Sam's trying to say. Don't put yourself in an echo chamber, which is what I've been trying to do. I haven't just been. I'm more. Since this past election, I've been more kind of right leaning, but now since I've been kind of leaning to the left a lot more. But
Describe what that is. What is right versus left?
Well, right.
Because I don't even know as much as I probably should.
Okay, right is Republican, Trump, those kind of ideologies. But you don't have to be a Republican to like Trump. You just have Republican values, which is I don't know exactly what that is. Conservative values.
The more traditional values.
Yeah, more traditional.
Which actually holds society together, believe it or not. We need a lot of these structures.
And then there's the left-leaning Democrat.
More
and
change.
Liberal values, more change, which I think is important because, everything's changing all the goddamn time. The world's just always revolving.
Well, let's face it. We still have a lot of issues in terms of what we need change.
Yeah.
Right. How is poverty still an issue?
Mm-hmm.
How is I'm gonna say the projects in New York City an issue still?
Mm-hmm.
How housing across the country, deforestation, pollution. Right. We're seeing more pollution. Right. There's more every U.S. not even U.S. Every human being has a little bit of microplastic in them.
Yeah.
Because they are so small, they're in all the water.
Mm-hmm.
I
think.
Yeah, man, I can't even put that. That's. Let me not do it. No, that's.
There are these big issues
No,
that
because I'm an entrepreneur, so that's just firing off my urge to talk about something else. But
we've got we've got these really big issues, and it's odd to me sometimes that things don't get changed. Not even change. Change might not be the right word. Problems don't get solved.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person. I'm not going to focus on just a problem. I want solutions to said thing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just tell me global warming exists. Okay, what is the fix?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. People fall into just these narratives, and you have to be strong with narrative because we're emotional beings. So if you fall into a narrative, you have to really take a step back and make sure that it's logical and that they're not taking advantage of your emotions and fear. Because that's what the government they like to leverage fear a lot because we're the ones
the crack epidemic. The crack epidemic in L.A.
We're the ones that
was manufactured by the U.S. government. Those documents are proven.
Mm-hmm.
Well, really?
Yes. That crack epidemic was literally manufactured by the U.S. government to fund a war that they didn't want to directly be associated with. It's I want to say the Contras. It was in the show Snowden. It was the whole show. It was kind of cool to learn about, but it's it's a little alerting.
That's a lot messed up. Right there.
And these I know that's factual. Those documents are published for the public record to see. They got released. So it's hard to believe that right. Every day we stand up, we say the pledge, but when your government's doing that to you, or what do you call it? There were these trials. It was I'm trying to think. It was with the Tuskegee Airmen.
Oh yeah.
There was something about the
UFOs.
Not UFOs, but there was they were using people from Tuskegee, I think, as guinea pigs for syphilis.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've heard
that
that
happened.
I've heard of that too.
They were giving it to people without their knowledge and consent.
The U.S. the U.S. have instigated a good amount of these wars and stuff, and the U.S. has also done some good, but that's what I'm saying. Power can corrupt, where they're people in power, and they saying that's why in the podcast with the person that was a former person in the Pentagon, they were saying the U.S. military complex and the power structure there is that they have the most power and leverage. They're the biggest business worldwide.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, military defense.
They'll cause wars to generate income, cause confusion here, to get funding for something, to generate profits for them, so they can continue doing war. It can be that it's very nuanced. Everything is always nuanced.
Well, and some of it's about money. Kamala. I think you brought this up before. How or my roommate did. How Kamala is in support of Israel, because she's a Democrat, she supports, Israel and Israel oil, the money that we get from that. But should anyone really be supporting Israel right now?
I think I read somewhere that Trump was in support of Israel.
Yeah,
and that she was She, from what I've read, is that she wants to send over humanitarian aid to what's happening over there. But that's all I've read about it. I don't know anything else about that. But
No, I mean that's what I'm saying. Listening to these podcasts, you get some more inside information from. I don't remember everything on that issue, but I think we should bring it back because I know that that's leading like over into. So
Well, and we were just going over.
To get sucked into so many deep rabbit holes.
But we
Yeah.
were going into some bigger issues that we were chatting
Yeah.
about. So, you know, we hit some stuff.
I think
But I
my
forgot what was the point I was trying to make that earlier point.
I think
you right.
yeah, I think you were trying to make that, you know, don't live in an echo chamber.
Yeah. So
Just-
yeah, make sure you listen to both sides
Yeah.
and confront your own bias because we're just inherently your own like it just happens naturally. You have your own bias, you have your people that you like and stuff, but you hear other people's perspective.
Yeah.
Be informed.
It might be hard
Be
to
informed.
hear, but yeah, it's good to know that, and you might find that you know we're actually more similar on certain things
Yeah.
than you realize. But if you just keep this just knocking at each other back and forth and not really seeing that we just need to come together and progress as a people, you know, that's the main thing.
Yeah, when the country's divided in half, we're not going to get anything done because one half wants to do it this way and one half wants to do it the other way, and they can't agree on it, and they butt heads. Everyone wants to save the world, but everyone has a different way.
Yeah, just like sports, you know, we need like good sportsmanship that they teach, and it's not just about knocking, but it's actually improving and actually addressing these issues. If they work together, like we can actually get some stuff done instead of like trying to just tear each other down and do it just to get the power play. You know, the person that should receive the power is the more human.
You want to find some common ground.
The humble person.
Yeah, you want to find some camaraderie, some common ground.
Yeah.
You know, work a solution, because let's face it, right? Everyone wants a solution. Nobody wants a problem. Nobody and I hope not, but
that's kind of why the CIA they're that's why they didn't want to release the files with the UFO. They were concerned about because there's a problem. There's not really a problem; it's an issue, but they don't have any way to deal with it, so they don't want to release it to the public until they have something to say of how they're gonna deal with it. You know, that's what they do with a lot of issues because they don't want to spread mass panic and stuff like that, which I can understand. And national security. But let's get back to Kamala and Trump since we're on this presidential. So we were talking earlier about the tax plan. So Julius, I know you know a lot about handling finances. In fact, college students in general, we need to start thinking about finances, watching your money. Please stop getting dry. I mean, I did it too when I was 18. I got my stimulus check from the government, and I spent that joint on some Temu and stuff. Regret no being in business. Totally regret that. You know, just watch where you put in your finances. Cause you'd be surprised. You probably had $1 million moving through your hands your whole life, but you didn't realize because you gave it away to somebody else.
Well, most people are millionaires by the end of their lifetime. It's just, where do you put your money?
Exactly.
And like, how do you have to have like the forethought to save?
But you know why I'm bringing that up now? With a tax plan, I want to show, because Doug, we were trying, my brother over here when we were discussing having this podcast.
Wait, that was your brother?
Yeah.
Daniel.
Yeah.
Daniel's the man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
And we were talking about, like, because now that I'm in business, I understand a lot more about money. Like, there's certain things before, like, where I used to look at the rich and like, how is this guy a billionaire? This guy has $0 on the street, homeless. How is that fair? You know, people always think about those questions. But when you understand business and how the thing is structured, this billionaire is actually just providing so much value. They might be that they're giving away billions of money to charities, but even with that, like, a lot of that money ends up coming back because that helps some people out. They end up somewhere in life, then they give back to the person that helped them, and they're not getting due to.
You're rambling.
All right, let me not ramble too far.
Nah,
all right, the main point is on money with the tax plans. We're talking about the fact that, you know, Kamala has a good heart. I see Kamala's heart in terms of giving back to the middle class.
To the middle class.
And giving people money to start their real estate stuff. But the problem is the U.S. is already in $1 trillion of debt. I don't know how much more, but
it's on a website.
Yeah, it's on a website.
You can look it up and you can find the actual number.
Here's the thing about that, is that Kamala's plan is she wants to give more money to the middle class and like I have like a little diagram where it's like with the tax brackets and stuff like that, and I think her that plan is supposed to cost like $2.2 trillion. But oh, hold on. Here's the other thing. Big number. She wants to increase federal taxes to, I think, like from 21 to 28%.
On the billionaires,
Yeah, on I think corporations, or
yeah,
I might be wrong
it's
on
really
that.
the billionaires, yeah.
Yeah.
But the
And
thing is, that
that
doesn't really. Yeah, we can. Yeah,
and that little tax cut is going to bring about $1 trillion back. So her plan's only going to cost about 1.2 trillion. But here's the thing about Trump's plan. He wants to give everyone money, but he especially wants those top earners to get those big tax cuts.
Tax breaks.
Tax breaks.
That's a narrative though, because that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If you understand money from their perspective,
It's not a narrative. You look at his.
yeah, I know. I get what you're saying. It might seem that way, but the thing is, when you invest in businesses, what do you think they do? They hire more people. If they take money away from businesses, they fire people. So you see, it's like a whole nuanced thing. That's what I'm saying. You can't just look at it on one front, because the reason why, like, they have two different perspectives. Trump is like, the people that have the companies and stuff, if they have the money and resources, they know what to do with it to create more wealth for the economy. They're going to create more jobs and hire more people. Whereas if you just give money away and then you take money from the rich, they're going to have to maintain their profit margins to be able to run the money so the business doesn't crash. They're going to have to let go people. So actually, it's going to sometimes it might increase unemployment unless they have things in place to stop that and prevent that. And it depends on the billionaire and the character of the billionaire and stuff like that. You have good ones, you have bad ones that hoard a lot of money.
But Sam, you made a really good point,
Yeah,
man.
I think you have a valid point.
Like
there.
raising, what I got from that was like by raising the amount of taxes on the higher earners, right? You might increase the margins for unemployment.
Exactly, because it's not like especially when people get to a certain level in business and you understand it. They don't want more money. Like, money's not, like, if you understand money's really nothing. It's really a perception of how you view money.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't know, man. Trillion's a lot of money.
It's a lot, but I'm saying it doesn't mean anything if you're. There's plenty of people that have money and they're so unsatisfied. You got to think about wealth, and it comes from the. We're gonna get deep. On the inside, the individual.
Wealth comes from values.
Yeah, from your values. But
here's the thing about that tax plan is that tax plan is going to cost us about $5.2 trillion.
Yikes.
That's that's like a $4.6 trillion difference. Yeah. Yeah, there's a big difference.
Trump is also doing I believe something called tariffs. So you know how these other
Okay.
So it's
I don't think you want to get on tariffs because I don't think Trump knows how tariffs works.
He's a business. Well, I don't know.
Okay. So he said
you know how I don't know how tariffs works. I know the basic definition. I watched the videos.
So if you don't know how tariffs work,
let me hear.
Okay.
X-nay.
So his tariffs, he wants to impose tariffs on China for 60% or whatever the hell it is. So
right, and that's for trade, right?
And that's for trade.
That's for like.
So how I believe most Americans perceive tariffs is that it's a punishment for China. Is that how you look at it, Sam?
No, it's not a punishment. I don't see it as a punishment.
Oh, you don't?
Because it's technically not a punishment because the countries out there in China, they are making money off US consumerism.
Yeah.
Right? But the conditions over there are terrible for working. They're getting paid the below minimum wage. There's a lot of different issues going on, especially with the clothing market.
Yeah, sweatshops.
Yeah,
exactly.
Literally sweatshops.
Yeah.
We know those exist.
Exactly.
Nike has actually had a problem with a lot of that.
What Trump is trying to do is make sure that he wants to create more jobs in the U.S. So he wants to take away jobs from these other countries and create more jobs in the U.S. So by doing tariffs, it slows down their manufacturing over there. They get a tax. In fact, the U.S. actually gets more money from them, so they get profit.
No.
But they have to pay a tax on there.
No.
Honestly, I'm mixing. That's what I'm saying. I got to look at what the definition of tariff.
Okay, so a tariff is like the China doesn't pay for the tariffs. it's actually the U.S. people that pay for the tariffs because that 60% tax is on. So say
on goods from their commodities.
Yeah.
So if we want to buy
So
stuff from China.
yeah, if I wanted to buy something from
Okay, I
China,
get it now.
the tariff, I would pay for the tariff. And so if I'm paying for the tariff, I'm like, well, I have to raise my prices so that I
No,
don't.
but I think
but
that's he's trying to force
I-
people not working with Chinese manufacturers.
Yeah,
that work
and
with
I
US
see
manufacturers.
where you're coming from now, and I think that's
But I didn't
But that's a
understand
good
that.
point to make,
Yeah,
Doug.
I didn't
like,
understand that. That's
understanding what a tariff is.
yeah, understanding what a
and
tariff
how it's
is.
encouraging you, like say the one on China, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a higher tariff than on something that's U.S. made.
But
Right.
But also, Trump plans on taking away tax on tips. I didn't realize they actually tax the tips. That's crazy.
Kamala wants to do that too. But
Yeah,
here's
that's
the
what I
thing.
realized. People come with good ideas, and then
Mhm.
both sides like take each other's good ideas.
But-
That's so funny.
He doesn't only want to remove it from tips. He also wants to remove it from Social Security and another thing I can't remember. But I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's a solid thing to do.
I think it's hard to say with so much of this stuff because you have to be so informed,
Mhm.
right? And if you're not in these bigger communities, right, these bigger political communities, how are you going to understand? Like,
Mhm.
because they put all these big like when people start have you ever heard the term or like the saying where it's like when people start using big words, might be full of shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because right when you're using big words instead of being clear and transparent with what you're saying, right, you create like a gray area. You create confusion. You create,
Oh, it can go this way, or it could go this way.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with the tax system, where it's like super complicated. So like
Yeah.
the reason why the rich knows how to leverage the different tax things, whatever tax things that people, because
Wealth creates wealth.
They have lawyers that are
Wealth creates
combing
wealth.
through that, whereas the normal person doesn't really understand navigating that, and so the middle class gets taxed the most or pays the most in taxes.
Or think about it this way, right? On a standard income, can you afford to pay someone your own personal, like, not attorney, it's your own personal numbers guy, your own personal accountant,
Yeah.
or your own personal tax expert to give you all the loopholes to make you the most money back, or like to pay a smaller amount of tax? Probably not.
Yeah, exactly.
Not on one person's income. Like, it's expensive, right? And we're all very busy. Like, there are a lot of people out here working 50 hours a week, 60 hours, like working a large amount of hours a week. And when do you have time to do that stuff? You feel pinched,
Mm-hmm.
especially coming like, I can say from like the middle economy class that my family was kind of a part of.
Yeah.
There were times when you get pinched, especially in college, right? Because when you're in the middle class, right, you do not get a lot of the aid that a lower class would get,
Mm-hmm.
but you do not get a lot of the higher finances that those better paying jobs that the upper class have.
Yeah.
You're in the middle and you get pinched a little bit more in terms of your college fees,
Yeah.
right? So that's kind of tough.
Yeah.
But what I want that would help, like, because what will truly equalize it is simply
Equalize what?
like the gaps. Like, I feel like it's just more knowledge and actually like situations or opportunities for the middle class to increase and the poor and wherever right now it's basically just rich and poor.
Well,
Yeah.
'cause it's
Especially with AI and how everything is systems and leverage.
well, it's kind of screwed up when 1% of your economy owns the majority of the cash.
Yeah.
That is
but it's because of what they know too, and if you
Yeah.
understand.
But it shouldn't.
But that shouldn't be that way.
like that.
That's crazy. Like, I can understand, okay, a larger-ish majority, but it's a stupid amount.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is owned by 1% of the population.
And that's
Yeah,
the reason why I don't think that it's been that sort of like economical thing's been studied where it's like, oh, if we keep getting the rich richer, they'll spread it out. That's like I'm pretty sure that was like the Nixon trickle down economy thing, but that just doesn't work.
Well, it's the same thing here though. If you give everybody, that's what I'm saying. The money is not the issue. It's education and knowledge and exposure and the surroundings and environments that people are coming from that are affecting how they interact with money and the choices that people are making.
Yeah,
Everybody's choice. Like, people don't realize, but it's always important to know every single soul on earth has so much value, immense potential. No matter what other people want to say about them,
Yeah.
The only thing is like it's just your understanding and your knowledge and how you apply yourself
and your choices.
Exactly, because if you gave $1 million to everybody, like in the other communities, and instead of the rich, what would happen?
Most people would blow it.
It would
Yeah.
blow up. everything's going up to the moon in
Yeah.
prices, man.
Yeah.
And then if you're stuck in a mindset of just constantly consuming and not actually learning these skills and talents and abilities, honing your abilities to provide value in the marketplace and seeing the potential that you have, and not just sitting on your bum, and not doing anything. But actually thinking.
It's understanding how to give
what
something
you have
value.
to offer the world, because everybody has so much to offer the world. Think about what you have to offer the world.
Yeah.
And then you can create value. Because remember, before money, we used to trade things. The only reason money exists is to hold value. Money has no inherent value. You know what's more valuable? Every single soul. People are the most valuable thing. So I don't know. So when I see people like downplaying education and like trying to use the algorithm, because it keeps people limited and keeps people like low energy, like thinking on a certain level. And I used to be in there, like I understand. I used to be sucked into the media.
Yes, I love all the points you're going across, but yes, you gotta stand and deliver them so we can get them.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah. But yeah, the point
is. But let's talk about creating value.
I'm saying like practical education that doesn't put students in debt, that allows students to explore their full potentials to their full capacity and see the value that they can provide. And everybody should learn how finances work.
Yeah.
Learn how the economies are set up. Because they don't teach that in schools. Like learn how money is created and how value is created.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you'll understand you don't really want to just give away free value. In fact, because that's gonna create a bad system if they don't learn how to create value themselves from that value. And if you don't know how to create value, then you're not if you don't know how to create value, then you're not going to really be able to attain wealth like that. You have to learn how to create value in the marketplace and not just depend on.
You don't with that statement though, right? You're talking about creating value. You don't even have to go to the marketplace. How do you create value in yourself, right? How do you create value in a job?
Just improving yourself,
improving
in employment. Yeah. How do you create? Yeah, improving yourself. It's like most video games are even made after this kind of skill concept, right? You upgrade through skill points in the game.
Yeah, people don't realize they can do
and that's a reflection of real life. But sometimes it's tough, right? Because in our generation, you have people on the phone, people who are, not wasting their time, but not necessarily interacting with the real world
as
much.
They're not maximizing their efforts to be their best selves.
Yeah, or when you're on a phone, when it's right here in front of your face, you are so locked off from the world.
Yeah.
Like when I go to the terrace here and I see someone on their phone, just on their phone, not even talking to the people around them.
Yeah, I was about to say that's the worst when you have a bunch of friends around you. I don't like
not even friends, but these are random people.
Well, I can understand
why aren't
that.
these people being friendly enough to talk to one another? Right? This phone puts such a big barrier on communication that we have a lot of kids who don't know how to effectively communicate the things that they might see that are wrong in their life.
I feel like that's a whole other issue. I don't mean to cut you out, Julius, but I feel like that's more of
social issues.
Yeah, social issues. And
but what are we politic issues reflect social issues.
You know what, you're right, Julius. Yeah.
But I do get your point. It's a little off kilter, but
no, it's okay.
There's a big power play with TikTok. The government wanted to do something about it, and I understand their perspective. But then TikTok has also created a lot of opportunities for people to come on and create value for themselves as well.
Yeah,
I mean, technology has created a lot of jobs, right? We're talking about governmental defense. The defense budget is huge.
I think Doug is saying, we need to get back to Trump versus Kamala. Kamala versus Trump.
No, but
who's going to be the next president?
I remember you talking about the education system, how you want, there to be. I don't know what you said exactly. What did you say exactly about that?
I want people to be educated on finances and the value that they have. That there's more options to this. That not just thinking about what you want to do, but the lifestyle. People actually considering the lifestyle they want to live. Because we live in a world where now we're in the information age. You don't have to just be doing the thing that everybody else is doing and get sucked into the system. There's so much value that you have as an individual leveraging AI, now making AI, not just using and dependent on AI and then ended up, AI, just like social media, controlling all of your life. You want you to be able to leverage these technologies to create more value and progress humanity as,
because the AI thing is impressive.
Possible. We're collective consciousness, so whatever we think and believe collectively, that's what happens in reality. you know, it all comes down to how everybody is thinking.
Yeah.
You know.
And how we interact with one another.
Yeah, that too. And I mean, if you know what you want to do, and like I feel like school could help along with that, like trying to figure out like
Well, public
what-
school is the biggest social
Yeah.
experiment ever.
Yeah, but that's why I like
It really
Alfred
is.
State, you know, and that's why most people come to Alfred State because it's cheaper prices and it's actually an extremely underrated school. It has so much value to
It's
it.
really good.
Yeah, but what were you saying about that, Doug?
So, here's the thing about the policies that I've known so far on both sides. Kamala wants to. Oh gosh, I'm blanking. She wants to make community college free. She wants to make that part. So like
It's a big deal.
yeah,
Oh,
it's a big
that's
deal.
cool.
Well, because other countries
And-
do free education.
that.
Yeah,
that.
and she also wants to take start to pay for students' debts, pay off student debts. I can't remember the third one, but I know.
That kind of follows.
Yeah, that kind of
Biden was
follows.
doing some of that, I think, with
Hey,
loan
that'd be
forgiveness.
cool.
Yeah, loan forgiveness.
I gotta see it, they hyped me up on that, y'all.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And
I have student loan debt, so
Because,
Hey.
educating people is a big deal, right?
That's
Because
true.
public school only goes so far. You can't learn everything
But
in
at
the,
the same time, and it depends on like how people, and it depends on how you think about it too. 'Cause at the same time, with the debt, it does add added pressure to make sure that I'm really productive to pay off that debt. Or if people might cave out the pressure and say, "Yo, this debt is accumulating too big." So it's different persons and how they think about it. Some
Yeah.
people decide to conquer the issue, and some people decide to allow it to crush it. But this how you can see, if you're able to see and analyze the issue, you can definitely deal with it. But I'm saying you're right. I think it's better that education should be free, and because we're the future generation, why putting us in debt? I mean,
Putting
and
you
it's
in
a power play. It's a
to
power
learn.
play too.
why are you putting anyone in debt to learn?
Yeah,
Like,
no, it's
to
a power
better
play because
themselves.
It keeps you in. It keeps you in the system for a certain amount
Yeah.
of time because you have to work a job to pay off that debt and worry about that
Yeah.
before thinking about.
Well, and go a step further, right?
other
Like,
things. And then some people get stuck in that and forget about their
well,
dreams and all
Sam,
their
hear
aspirations
Sam,
and- so,
hear me out. No, hear me out though.
Yeah.
Like with college, right? The first person in usually every family that goes to college, right, because of their income bracket, they usually will get a crap ton of financial aid. They could go to a higher level institution, right? So on the front end, the government doesn't get the payback. The government or like these higher level institutions get the payback when their kids go, right? When you have bumped your level of income up a class or two, and then you have to pay because you don't get as much of the financial aid as someone in a lower income bracket
Yeah.
would. So like that's where the middle class gets pinched a little bit in terms of collegiate education.
Yeah, and the type, because and all these schools, the Ivy League schools, they are getting better education, and
Yeah.
people get into a lot more debt. Like it's like
Yeah.
schools go over there like millions of dollars in debt sometimes.
And they well, I mean, they also have a chance of getting like higher paid jobs because it's like if you look at it on a resume and it's like someone from Harvard, like that's a well-known school, but it also matters what you went to Harvard for.
And it also matters you and your character. I think with the school system, so many people attach too much of their value to their grade. It's not really much about your grade. It's more about your attitude. And I guess it's good to have a grade because a grade is a reflection of like
Of
your
how
actions
much-
and how much you prepared and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
how much effort you're putting
It's a
in.
reflection of what you've learned or can remember, but it's not always a reflection of common sense or the different
Yeah.
types of intelligences.
Or even how far you go in life, because
Mhm.
it's not going to be down to just your grades and that stuff. It's going to be down to your character and your perseverance and your ability to fail, to want to fail. A lot of people with school, what the grade system sees is like so many people aim for the 90s and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and they don't learn how to fail. Like,
Yeah.
they don't fail.
No one's-
You're gonna
Yeah.
in the real
Just because
world,
you have
you're
a
gonna
failure doesn't mean you're not having a failure forward.
No one's like
Yeah.
experimenting. No one's experimenting. Oh, how can I get to this? Like, I mean, there's a lot of subjects where you can't get to a problem or solve a problem in a different way or like find a way around it. But, a lot of school is like, oh, I taught you this. I want to see how you can do it, which is important. But also, I think college is more like, oh, I know you can do this. Show me how you can adapt that to like different situations or in a different way. I feel like that's more college-based learning.
And I think Alpha State is doing big things.
Yeah.
In terms of they actually change a lot, which is good. They're adapting to the thing there, because if they don't change and stuff, they're gonna get knocked out with the new technologies and the new system. Because most people are getting their education like online and stuff. YouTube has so much information. You could get a whole career from just learning on YouTube and then getting a job after by building up your connections and stuff like that. So like the education stratosphere is shifting, and that's what's good about technology and the internet now is that it's widely available to everybody, and it's just down to people not getting stuck into pursuing their own, like, again, rabbit holes, and like just continuing to, cause on the internet the algorithm can just feed you what you want.
Yeah, Facebook does it.
Yeah.
Facebook has had problems with it for a long time.
And feed you different things, and you can learn about different interests.
And that's how people get in that little echo chamber. They're like, oh, everybody's thinking this way. This has to be the correct thing. And it's like, there's so many people out there that have a different mindset or different ideas or just different opinions than you.
And that's where a phone will limit, like, your feed, right? On Instagram, Facebook, right? You were going to like the things you're going to like. You are not expanding into other perspectives. You are not working across the aisle. You are not seeing more. You are just in your bubble.
And that's where you have to reach across, and you have to go seek for that information.
Yeah, you have to go be informed.
Yeah.
Pursuit of knowledge.
So on the back to the policies, to the politics. Back to the policies. From what I've heard from Trump's side is that he wants to disband the Board of Education. But that might be not a credible source. I don't know. Sam, do you have any more information on that?
I wish I did, but I'm not representing the.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying that, but you seem to have a lot more.
I have because I'm getting my information based on like podcasts and stuff. But I didn't hear about that policy, so I don't know.
I might be wrong about that, but that's just what I've heard. Don't take my word for it.
But how do you guys feel about?
But I mean, I think there's like when you say disband, maybe he's planning like reestablishing new people in there, because there have been like the manipulations in the education stuff, but that's going to be going into some touchy waters there in terms of like, because parents should have more control over what they want their kids to see. It shouldn't be just the government instilling their values. Parents should have that.
I think
that. Where are you going with this? I guess. What connection are you making?
What connection am I making?
But like you went from here to parenting to values.
It depends, because like when you allow the government to influence and does influence your kids, then further down the line they're going to think a certain way, because like the environment and what information we put in their heads is what creates their realities actively. That's what I'm saying. Everybody's always living on faith.
Well, here's a good question for you, right? You're talking about people being led a certain way. How do you feel about the news outlets, right? Fox, NBC, or
we have some new stuff coming out that's beating that.
Right.
Like, SAS. Like, if you guys been watching the Jubilee, that's a great way for people to get some good information.
Jubilee?
Yeah, you've been watching the
Sam,
Jubilee?
I haven't seen.
You didn't
Jubilee,
let me get to my question though.
Oh, sorry.
How do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel about these outlets that put out their content that's a certain way, right? Like, I think Fox is very democratic.
No.
Or is it the other way? Thank you.
But
Flip
the fact that you thought that is good, because they do still cover both sides.
Yeah, they do, but like you hear
they
news.
Do it,
everybody have their biases.
Yeah, but it's in a biased way, and it's like Kamala went on there, and they they asked her questions, and they tried to skew it or like control it a little bit and try to
right for their viewers.
For their viewers, of course.
Which is weird.
I don't think I think they asked Kamala pretty hard questions.
Well, yeah, they asked her hard questions.
But it's good as a president. You should be able to address that. But you need to ask both. Like, there's certain questions that
that's what Doug is saying.
Asks. Like, when I see Trump on interviews, like, everybody's going to people that are gonna make them look good. That's what or that's the perceived thought, So.
But what if that's true? Why would Kamala go on Fox News?
I'm sorry. That's why I've been looking.
But
that's why I do. That's why you can't. Oh, sorry. Let me just mention this. That's why I don't like falling into narratives. So even me, I'm always conscious of me just listening and believing a certain narrative about somebody. But there's certain things on that, like Trump would say about Kamala, they're just saying it to discredit them.
Yeah.
But on the other side, like Kamala's coming from a civil rights background, middle class working parents. That I've seen, and they have some good character traits and how they're growing up, and I consider both candidates on like where they came and where they're coming from
But it's tough when you see, right, you go to news sources for information, but you see them with these underlying narratives, right? And you approach that word, right? Right? News shouldn't be biased, right? News should be presented. It's the presentation, or journalism is the presentation of facts.
Yeah.
Right? Not opinions, not a subjective things.
Yeah.
It is supposed to be delivering information to the people, right? That is good journalism. But we're encountering a lot of bad journalism where it's being skewed a certain way, or they're trying to paint a certain picture
of the person,
based on the audience.
Yeah.
Which is not great. Who wants to watch a news show that is only, only pushing one narrative or only pushing
people
one?
Want to watch it. We're comfortable with our knowledge, and we like things that validate our opinion. It's uncomfortable to hear something that doesn't validate how we view the world.
But you're separating people again.
Exactly.
You're separating people. You are catering only to one audience, and I get it. These shows are companies.
And here's the thing about that. When we were talking about the economics thing, when you were getting into like why Trump, is imposing those tariffs, I now understand that he probably does understand how a tariff works, but I think the cause is noble. I think the cause of cutting ties with China and having them, build their own, like getting rid of those Chinese sweatshops and stuff like that. I feel like that's a great noble cause. And
but not only that, he wants to create. He's trying to
pull the jobs into the U.S.
Get these people off because there's people that's like out here on drugs and stuff and they're valuable people that they're wasting away their times. They could be using it to
poverty. Poverty. Why do we still have poverty? Why do we still have drug addictions? Or like what. Drugs being laced with fentanyl, that's scary.
Fentanyl is a very bad issue.
Like that's horrifying.
But, Doug, you wanted to finish your point?
But here's the thing about that is that that's just gonna. He also was he said this, but he was like, I'm gonna get rid of inflation, and that's all that those tariffs that he's imposing is going to come straight out of the middle class's pockets,
and that's tough.
Yeah,
but
so
that should but that's going to stop them from buying from those, because we have U.S. based manufacturers, so he wants people more supporting
purchasing from
but that's going to put people in the middle class into the lower classes. That's going to be worse for
it depends. It's very all these issues are very nuanced.
It's a very, you can't, I don't know. It's hard to argue economics and morality where it's like, this is the right thing to do, other than, this is going to hurt us economically.
Yeah, for money.
Yeah,
it's
for
like,
money.
But
how do you be financially successful?
What do our parents always tell us? I've been learning from young aunts in Jamaica growing up. Money don't grow on trees.
Yeah.
But in the U.S., it seems like it does. Because they're printing a lot of money. And when you do that, and he goes constantly, you have to give people the tools to create wealth themselves. And that's a lot of the things that the government doesn't want to do, because if they do that and people start thinking for themselves and creating value for themselves, then it's going to take away a lot of their control. And right now we're living in a society, and it's possible where people, individuals raise their knowledge, can become a lot more self-sufficient and not too dependent on the government and stuff like that. We have our own communities, we have our people, and we can stick up for each other and make each other better, and not have to depend on the government and the resources and how the system is set up currently, to depend on them for our food and depend on them for
but that's part of creating a healthy economy, right?
True. Yeah. You want some form of dependency. And making sure that things are regulated and stuff.
Like obviously, that. I think the U.S. has done a pretty good job of trade. Yeah. Like we don't, I don't know. Like I can't speak for you guys, but I'm always fed. Like how many days do you have you ever had hunger pain in your life? I don't think I can say I haven't.
I haven't, but in parts of the U.S. the U.S. does pretty good because they have the food stamps.
Yeah.
But then again, where that is a different thing. So you have people that know.
Right. Or like we have
like elevating their life. But there are people, like I think I don't know if some of Cardi B was saying it. Like Cardi B is a product. I think she tweeted on Twitter. She's a product of food stamps and
social services.
Social services. And they were able to get out of that situation, obviously, with the internet and popping off.
But it's nice that some of that stuff is there, because there are these other countries, right? I want to say some African countries where like they have a lot more health issues because children only eating pasta. Like,
Yeah.
and that sounds bad, but
but that's all the food they have.
that's
for
the
breakfast,
they can only get pasta. So by eating all that all the time, you're creating health issues in your population. Like I think as a,
There's
you
a
know,
lot of things. I need to actually research other things over there. There's a lot of things that happen over there because there's a lot of wealth. Oh, I mean, the U.S. tends to focus on like the thing, but there is a lot of wealth over in Africa. But there's also a lot of corruption happening.
There's
And
a whole
because
lot
they
of
have a lot of the
corruption.
resources, so the whole world
Yeah.
is like.
and I've seen some cool things where they've started to do these crescent moon farming. It's a attempt to reforest a lot of their desert. Like they are having big issues with desertification and global warming because as it gets warmer, you are causing more of the plants to die, and therefore the desert is spreading. What they're doing is they are making these crescent land plots that really focus on sharing the water because this is agriculture, right? The cool part about this, right? We'll get back to the bigger thing, but the cool part about this is, right? You are creating usable, arable land instead of having so when the land when dirt is so hard and caked that plants can't get through it, that's when the desert spreads. But through this process, they are taking back some of that land because they're chopping up the dirt and they are making they're making their country better.
Yeah.
And it's impressive. It's cool to see stuff like that actually happening in the world, especially with these bad not bad news outlets, but sometimes you turn on the TV and all you can see is just
bad news,
horror.
Yeah.
I remember I was in Florida one time, and I turned on the TV and I think it was some holiday. I want to say it was 4th of July or Labor Day, one of the two. And I saw that there were 8 to 10 mass shootings in Florida, and I'm like, how are people hurting people like this?
Yeah.
It's disheartening.
I know, and that's why it's important. That's also another message. I mean, you don't want to totally unplug from the news, but you don't want to be constantly in the news
cycle
because it'll mess up your psychology. It's so negative, and whatever you feed yourself, and eventually you start to just become negative because the news is so negative and there's so many negative issues. And the news tends to more focus on negatives than positives
because that's what sticks out in your mind. That's a headline.
Yeah, it gets more attention.
Yeah.
But I think we brought up the good point, and maybe this can be the central line of the podcast is be informed.
Be informed.
Do some research. Look at both sides of an argument that really, look at how things are happening in the world, because at one point or another, you're gonna leave college and be a part of it.
Very true.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, we're already a part of the college, and that's why I see the significance of education and college. Because, look at these conversations, and the network of people that you see. So there's still there's still a utility for colleges. It's very important. So we don't go into the stratosphere with AI and separate and then become even more antisocial as a society. But having college where people from different walks of life are forced to interact with each other, I think that's very highly valuable. But
it's what do you call it? Diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal, especially if you talk about from a business aspect and making money. You want people to innovate, right? And by accumulating people from different areas, different backgrounds, different cultural beliefs, you will get more solutions to a problem than you would just having all the same type of people from the same type of area. You're gonna create
can't get into America. So different people think differently with that.
Yes, 100%.
Because that's why the parts of the government, put in policies in place to have a diversity score so that people, and I think that's very valuable.
Yeah.
And I like the climate shift we've had.
Some people push back is some people when somebody is getting a position but they're not
earning.
They might not be qualified or they don't have the
qualifications.
Not really, and it's not even that. Maybe they don't have the character, the problem solving skills to actually fit that role.
Yeah.
But they're just there because
they were given it because of
and that's
their diversity.
All of it's so nuanced. The world is so complicated.
It's a finicky.
But it's very important too because what if there are people that are being denied jobs because of their diversity?
Discrimination.
That's bad too.
Discrimination is terrible. But what were you saying, Doug?
I mean, that's a flip-flop subject where it's it's good for a lot of people just in general where it's just like, diversity is always important, because if you have different perspectives, I feel like you will always get a better result.
Yeah, and it's good to give
Yeah,
people
and
the
business trends
opportunity
would completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Right?
and and it's good to give people the opportunity too to actually have that experience, learn from it, and stuff like that.
Rub
Outside of
shoulders
just
with
the-
people that you might not have always been around.
Yeah, because
Like-
it's very true. Because if it's only one population of people that's dominating certain sectors and industries, and you don't give a chance to other people, then they won't be able to grow themselves by being around that high impact working environment. So I see the significance.
And the hope, right? We're talking all about this diversity and inclusion, right? I think the hope I have for government one day, or big government, is it becomes more diverse.
Yeah.
It becomes more
A lot more
inclusive.
diverse.
I know
There's a bunch of
Barack
white men in
Obama
there.
was a big deal.
Yeah,
First black president.
We need more black people.
Or eventually, like if
Yeah,
Kamala
that's it.
gets elected, the first female president.
Yeah,
Like
the
those are
first-
big deals for a country that
Yeah.
has been, most of
Yeah,
our
that would
presidents
be a
have
huge
been
deal, yeah. It
White
would be-
old men.
No,
white old
that
men.
would be the first
Great white sharks,
female
Yeah.
world leader, technically.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty amazing concept. And I know, a lot of people probably would disagree with some of her policies, but
Yeah.
sometimes like it's got to be hard to stand up there in front of
Very
Yeah.
true, but Kamala's gonna have to really prove herself. Like she's the underdog right now.
Yeah.
She's technically the underdog.
Yeah.
But
I'm
100%.
not completely sure how, but yeah, sure.
no. I mean, prove herself because
Well, yeah, I know
she's
that
representing
she's.
all women in leadership. So
Mhm.
she's representing a woman, and that's big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
To go up there like that. But I respect it. Like she's out there fighting. Every
She's
day.
filling.
I think
She's filling the shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we with media and like how people paint different people, we tend not to humanize them, but they're human beings.
Yeah, they're human.
Just like that with feelings and emotions, they're affected by all this. I'm sure like the stuff that's being said on both sides. I think it probably affects. Kamala's a bit younger than Trump, so I think it affects.
Yeah,
her. The younger you are, the more affected.
And people
you are
might like to
by-
see that in office, a younger
Yeah.
person, or what do you call it with Kamala, right?
But what they're scared of is they don't want Kamala to become a puppet because
Yeah.
it's easy to, and the same thing happened with Trump too. He admitted it too. It was like it was his first time in office.
Yeah,
and
sometimes
so
you're
so he didn't know where to take advice, and he just trusted people that he probably
Yeah.
he didn't. He
You
should
don't-
have trusted, and they
Sa-
did some weird stuff.
Sam, you don't want to be a puppet of your party.
Yeah.
Yes, you don't want to be
Yeah.
a puppet of your party.
So
Which
she's
is-
got to show that leadership that she can stand firm and represent women.
Stand
I
tall.
believe women can really do big things and lead too.
Yeah.
It's just down to
Well,
mind
Tupac-
and how they think and just making sure that
Tupac said it best, man. We all came from a woman. We all came from
We
a
all
woman, and
came
that's
from a
really
woman.
like.
and they're
And, like,
the
I'll
thing they were way more emotional and stuff. That's what they say, but they're also logical too.
Yeah.
But, I mean, naturally, on both ends. We can get into murky waters there.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but
they
shout out.
come on, women are more emotional.
But shout out to a good
You
cultural
know,
trend. Like Tupac was actually going over a lot of these things, like in some of his older music, right? He was talking about women's rights. Obviously what's happening with some of the black population in America.
Yeah.
What's going on, and like it was really impressive to see how he was singing about this stuff before his death, right?
Mhm.
Everyone, and it's weird how like death becomes martyrdom sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, we need those balance, but it's also a balance,
Yeah.
Okay, you need the emotional side, but you also need the logical side, and you need somebody that these other leaders aren't going to just these other world leaders aren't able to like put people in place to like manipulate or
Yeah.
or like
Manipulation,
that's-
right? You don't
Yeah.
want manipulation in government, right?
And I don't want Kamala to also feel like there's too much pressure. Like she can lead in her own way, and it could be a whole different stratosphere that revolutionizes things.
But you were talking
thinking
about
with iron fist, like causing wars, but more peace.
Mhm.
We need more peace. Cause a lot of these wars are unnecessary.
Yeah.
So.
But you were talking about how you don't see Kamala as an underdog. But I will say
You don't
she's
see the underdog?
Well, I know she is an underdog technically. You go ahead, Julius.
But no, what I was trying to say is right. That perspective, right, could be an advantage to her, right? She
Yeah.
could have more to overcome.
Mhm.
So like,
Everyone loves
it's all
the
about the
underdog.
perspective on some of this stuff.
Because Trump. So what's happening right now? Let's talk about it. With their parties and how their strategies and stuff. So Trump is already really good with media. Went to Joe Rogan. I don't even know how many million.
It was
40 million views probably right now.
I almost sat
went on
down
the Joe
and watched
Rogan?
that.
Yeah,
Experience?
He was on there, and it's a
Wow.
long podcast. And right now, people don't realize I've been in the podcast game. Podcast game has massive influence, especially on people that are actually going to vote.
And that's what's
Like,
cool
they
about the
listen to podcasts. These are the people that are getting
Yeah.
the long-winded.
and the Joe Rogan
conversations.
experience does a really good job of actually he asks a lot of really good questions.
Yeah.
Like not even stuff like some of it's like general, like stuff that you would want to know. But then somehow he actually does a really good job of peeling back layers of trying to understand things
Yeah.
in a comfortable way with his
Yeah.
guests. Like he doesn't make most of his guests feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
You see the strategies, but not what Kamala is doing to combat that, because Kamala is just not as good with the marketing and stuff. Trump has been in movies. He's really good with marketing. He's a
Yeah.
businessman. He knows how to sell himself.
Mhm.
You know, with Kamala, she's a bit different with that. She's more like she's not as good as that yet. You know, in terms of like
Mhm.
understanding that kind of game. But I can see like her character and like some of her intentions in, you know, just like being humanizing, like actually wanting to progress and be smart with crime, like, you know, and do smart plays on that. But the whole point is her strategy now is to get a bunch of celebrities. They're going to they get it all the celebrities, but the celebrities already have massive audiences, so that's what they do it to combat.
Well, because once
like,
you're a
Trump's
president,
big
you are a
marketing,
celebrity.
you know?
Once you're a president,
Yeah.
that is the highest held office in the United States.
Mhm.
The highest. You have to deal with some of the most complex issues that humanity has to offer in the U.S.
That's right.
So, and not just even in the U.S., right? You have to deal with foreign policy as
Yeah,
well.
even that.
And there's a lot of things to go over. Like you,
So true.
and like if you actually look at how the presidency ages people, right? Look at Barack at the
Oh my
beginning of
gosh.
his tenure and at the end of his tenure, man.
Yeah. Barack went on a podcast. He went on the barber guy that cuts hair and like talks to like different celebrities. I can't
Oh,
remember his
really?
name from the city. Yeah, there's somebody he cuts hair. Like he cut the president hair. So Barack, obviously Barack has been helping out Kamala
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And that was a really good podcast. You know, when you get podcasts, like I get to see people's personalities and kind of peel back because they're not scripted. Usually.
Yeah.
They're not as scripted.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
podcasts
So
I
you
think
get
are doing a better job of
Yeah.
bringing up like the better like they're good news outlets
Yeah.
instead of bad ones. They're not as biased. They're just two people talking to one another.
Yeah.
No, but people can get a chance to form their own opinions. 'Cause they still talk based on like what they believe and their worldview. Everybody does, but now we can actually get a deeper thing, and it's not just seeing
Scripted.
you as just one thing, but you
Yeah.
realize it's nuanced. We're all
It's not as
people, we're all
scripted. There's
people.
not as usually an underlying narrative. Like
Yeah.
usually it's just trying to be it's informative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all trying to just be better, have better situations for our family, have better situations for the common man on the road. And we're just trying to better ourselves as
Word
society. And there's
to
so many different issues to consider, and that office really does hold that power.
Yeah.
What time did you see when he checked his phone?
It's about 2:25.
Well, we can cap it off there.
Yeah,
I mean, is there anything
we
else
should,
you guys want to
I
say?
think we should wrap it up a little bit. Personally, I don't think I will be going towards the Trump side, just because I feel like there's a whole other side of him that just like he's a sore loser. Evidence
Yeah,
of the
you're right. That is a big character trait.
Yeah.
And he needs to be because
he's not
let me
humble.
get deep, yeah,
No, because to be a good businessman, which is his whole MO,
he
you have to
never-
be that guy.
he
You have
never-
to be cocky and confident.
But he never admits any of
He
his
doesn't even
mistakes.
take-
he doesn't take
have-
any.
I don't like that too. Yeah.
There's
So-
no there's a humility factor that we
he
don't
needs
get.
to
Yeah.
own up to certain things.
Yeah.
And just acknowledge it. Like and I'd be like, it's like a don't play. Like that's something that Trump definitely needs to grow in that
Mhm.
aspect.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't necessarily think it means. I think it's just so deep rooted in how he was growing up
Yeah.
and stuff
but-
like that. But
Well, he's been a businessman way longer than he's ever been a president.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So in that
But
sector,
that has positives and negatives to it, just like with anything.
Mhm.
And even with Kamala Kamala, and it's also positive and negative because it's also unknown, but we don't know yet. But I think I don't I'm still.
I don't think
I gotta
anyone
get
could
more
say.
information. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
still don't know.
I don't think anyone could say she's not kind of impressive.
Well, me and
Yeah.
Julius, we still on the neutral aspect. Doug's the only one sure about his choice.
Like-
here.
Oh,
But
okay.
the point is,
I mean, the only reason I'm so sure is just because I'm a little tired of him, but that's just a me thing.
Yeah, but you can't. But there's a lot of people on the that's on the supporting Democratic Party simply because they hate Trump, and that's not a good reason.
I know, and
that's not a good reason.
I don't know how to feel about him. I feel like but I've done most of my research, and a lot of her policies sit with me, and have a lot of
Well, she's a little more scripted, right? We know what
Yeah.
she's trying to do. She's a little more
Yeah.
transparent.
Yeah.
Like Trump
No,
will do
no,
stuff, but we don't always get as
Yeah.
much of
Yeah. We
his
don't-
transparency.
Yeah, there's not a lot of transparency.
No, or he knows how to be a good showman. So he's showing
Yeah.
a certain aspect of his personality, but he's saying, yeah, we don't know the nuance. We don't know if this is a facade. But at the same time, there is things to be said that there's on both sides.
It was a great conversation. I'd love to see. This is how a conversation like this should go. This is how it should be. Should be 3 people in a room just talking and not attacking. None of us attacked one another this entire time.
No, it was a good environment.
We had a good environment, and we had a good conversation and a productive conversation of that.
And we transcended so many topics.
Mhm.
Like we went all across the board about stuff that probably isn't like directly politically related.
Yeah.
But we were able to kind of talk about like some of our different views.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right.
But so I guess so everybody's ending off. So I guess my point is really look within yourself, because you have more power than you even know as like an individual. So you have so much potential, and I say don't let anybody like determine your narrative. Really think about how you want to live in the future. Don't allow other people to think about your future for you and then direct your energies, because you're blindsided because you don't have the information. I say get the information, improve yourself, and it's not don't make any big improvement. Just try to beat the person you were the day before and just become better and better and better, because that's going to revolutionize society way more than just
follow your own
person.
narrative. Follow the pace that
Yeah.
you want to set. Be informed.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
All right, that's the show, guys.
That's out.
It's been another talk.
Might have to